All right, Nico, can you say, welcome to another episode of Healthy Births, Happy Babies?
It's a happy episode. Happy babies.
Welcome back to another episode of Healthy Births, Happy Babies. I'm Dr. Jay Warren. I'm the prenatal and pediatric chiropractor here at the Capuano Center. And this podcast is all about helping you have a proactively healthy pregnancy so you can have a safe, gentle, natural birth. And that's going to allow you to bring your baby into the world that much more gently and healthily so you can start off your family experience more powerfully than if it's full of stress and trauma and other health concerns. So if you are a fan of this show and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Wherever you listen to your podcasts, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss an upcoming episode. And also, if you haven't rated or reviewed the podcast and you've enjoyed it and gotten value of it, that will really help me out because that'll allow this podcast to reach more and more parents like yourself that might be missing out on this type of information and helping them along their parenting journey. So thank you in advance for that. And thank you if you already have rated and reviewed. And today's episode is a very special episode, one that I'm really excited for. One, not only because I get to talk with Dr. Pia Martin, who I always enjoy talking with. I've had her on the podcast a number of times, and I always learn so much from her when I do talk with her. But also it's really exciting because she's launching her new book. It's called Building Healthy Humans, Your Guide to a Balanced and Beautiful Pregnancy for a Happy, Healthy Baby. And it was way back on the first episode that we did together. It's episode 5 called The Essentials of Prenatal Nutrition. It's one of our top downloaded episodes. It's probably been downloaded over 6,000 or 7,000 times. I haven't checked the stats on it recently. But if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to it. Obviously, it's popular for a reason. She gives so much information. She had another episode about gestational diabetes and another one about postpartum nutrition to nurture you through postpartum recovery and breastfeeding. But in this time, she's been working on this book. She's been laboring hard. I've been encouraging her along to put it out, and it's here. It's ready, and we're going to be talking about it today. Before I go into those details, though, I also want to let you know that there's something special going around this time when the episode's being published. So this episode is being published at the very end of July 2017, and tomorrow in Amazon, there's a very special release for the launch going on, and it only goes on for 2 weeks. So starting on August 1st, 2017, going for 2 weeks, her book is going to be available in the Kindle version only for only 99 cents, but just for the next 2 weeks. So I apologize to you if you're listening to this after that time. It still will be available, and you can purchase the book in Amazon and other avenues, which we'll have links to. But for those of you that are subscribers, getting this right away, or if you're listening to this right now, and it's within that 2-week window before mid-August of 2017, you can get her book, which is a fantastic book, in Amazon for only 99 cents right now. So go do that, and I'll make sure I have the link in the show notes so you can do that right now. But before I switch over to the conversation with Pia, let me, as always, take a moment to get a message from our sponsor, the Capuano Center. Hi, it's Dr. J, and one of the things I love about working at the Capuano Center is being able to play a role in bringing a baby into the world that much more safely, much more naturally, and much more healthy. You know, it's something that is an amazing gift to give a child, to have them start off their life healthy without the stress and the trauma that can all too often be a part of the birth experience. So I consider it an honor to work with pregnant women to help them with that time during their pregnancy, and it is a privilege to be able to work with infants and help correct any distortions that might have happened through the birth process and allow them to start off their life healthy in alignment and in balance so that a health challenge doesn't hold them back from being all that they can be in this world. All right, let me introduce Dr. Pia to you, and I'll switch over to my conversation with her right away. Again, if you haven't listened to her previous episodes, please do so. They're amazing. It's episode 5. That's the essentials of prenatal nutrition. Again, one of the top 5 downloaded episodes that we've done. Episode 11 was on gestational diabetes, and then number 35 was bouncing back after baby with nutrition, all about postpartum nutrition. So definitely go listen to those as well. So, Dr. Pia Martin is a practicing wellness doctor in San Diego, California. Her passion is helping new moms have a balanced and beautiful pregnancy. She understands that new moms are excited and fearful all at the same time, and she knows that new moms want to do the very best they can to have a happy, healthy baby who thrives and develops into a wonderful human being. She's a certified clinical nutritionist, a member of the International Chiropractic Pediatric Association, and author of hundreds of articles on healthy living found on her website, drpia.com. She's also the author of her new book called Building Healthy Humans, Your Guide to a Balanced and Beautiful Pregnancy for a Happy, Healthy Baby. And that's what we're going to be talking about today on today's episode. So with no further ado, let me switch over to my conversation with Dr. Pia. All right, Dr. Pia, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Jay.
I'm really happy to have you back. It's been a while since we've talked on the podcast, that is. I mean, you're my chiropractor, so I get to see you in your office when you're taking really good care of me. But we get to talk about your book. Congratulations.
Oh, I know. Thank you so much for having me. And also, I want to say a huge congratulations to you. I mean, it's unbelievable. Healthy births, happy babies, 250,000 downloads. That's so amazing. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
And such a great resource out there for all the moms and dads and that are looking to have a happy, healthy baby. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's been really fun for me, and I always learn every time I have an amazing guest like yourself on. So it's been really helpful for me. But then also, like, as far as this as a resource, you're a huge part of that, Dr. Pia. You know, you're the very first episode that we did together, the essentials of prenatal nutrition, is one of our top downloaded episodes. So you're helping make this resource be so helpful for our listeners. And also today, we're going to be able to talk about your book. I think it was back on that episode I was asking, like, when are you going to come out with a book? And here it is. It's called Building Healthy Humans, Your Guide to a Balanced and Beautiful Pregnancy for a Happy, Healthy Baby. And, you know, really, I mean, you talked a little bit about this before in our previous episodes, but, you know, tell us, like, why you felt it was so important to put this book together.
Well, that's a good question, you know, and it has taken a little bit of time, but there's a lot of reasons why I wrote the book. The first one is that I think that a lot of the information that's out there today is confusing and contradictory and not always very simple. And I know that moms and dads today, it's a very special time, especially millennials. Having a happy, healthy baby is an aspiration of theirs. And they're searching, and they hear lots of information that's contradictory, confusing. You know, they're on Google all the time. So we wanted to put something together that really helped them, that was simple and straightforward and would give them the answers to their questions. And the way this started was we said, okay, what are the questions that moms would ask? What are the top, let's say, you know, handful of questions during each or pre-pregnancy and each trimester that generally come up for parents? And so what we did was we said, well, what if we then answered those questions in a really straightforward and simple way that also taps into the fact that everybody's a little bit different. Everybody brings their own story to the table. And that, you know, we wanted to encourage them at the same time to tap into their own wisdom as parents and to stay really grounded in the process. So it's like we wanted things to make sense, you know, and we wanted it to sound positive and encouraging and straightforward, using that word again. And then the second reason I did this was because I see such a big increase in childhood ailments today. And it's a bit scary to me, to be quite honest. And I know that we need to do a little bit better at that. And I think that as parents, we want our future generations to have a high quality of life. And as future parents, we are called to do our part. And I think each parent needs to take responsibility for that and to understand that their choices that they make pre-conception and through pregnancy and postpartum have an impact. And, you were talking earlier about Bruce Lipton and the power of epigenetics and what goes on and how that gets translated from a genetic perspective, that it's an important thing to consider. So I wanted the book to not only sort of be about, eat and drink, but also think. So eat, drink, and think in a simple way. And just having people stop and be conscious about decisions. And then the last reason is because it's my calling. I've tried to deny it.
Yes, you have. But I'm glad you answered the call, Pia.
I've tried to deny it, but so it's my calling, and I think I keep getting knocked on the head. And so I thought, okay, I need to really sit down and do this. And it wasn't actually till I put together the introduction that I thought, wow, I've had so many, knocks on the head or aha moments or, life, as they call them, defining moments that caused me to say, this is the path, and you better jump on it. It's time. And also my clinical practice. I see a variety of different moms and dads, just like you do, and I kept hearing from them that they needed this kind of resource. I had one, and I'll tell you about the mom who did the forward for me. Her name is Casey, and she came into me because she had really, really struggled with her first pregnancy. She tested positive for gestational diabetes, and she tried to find answers, and she really struggled with the medical model for this, that she was here and there, and her OB, and there was a lot of processes around that, and she felt like she did everything she could, but it became more and more stressful, more and more fraught with risk. And her and her husband are big researchers, so they jumped all over the place, and they finally found an OBGYN called Dr. Cap, who I think you know.
Yeah, I know that guy.
You know that guy. And, and he said, oh, my God, you know what? Let me see if we can do this. And he stood by them, and they had the birth that they wanted. But prior to that, they were looking at a C-section. So then the second time around, before she decided to get pregnant with baby number 2, Dr. Cap said, why don't you check in with Dr. Pia and see if she can help get you ready nutritionally so that you can avoid the gestational diabetes the second time around and also reduce the risk for your unborn child. So that's what we did. And it was a fabulous success, and Casey went through this second pregnancy. So it was fabulous. And she was another person that encouraged me to sort of, you know what, this makes sense to me. This is simple for me. I like this. And so that was also an encouragement and another reason why, decided to write the book.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad that you have. And it's something that, I have the utmost respect for you, Dr. Pia. Like, one thing, you are so knowledgeable about so many different things, in not just prenatal nutrition, but all kinds of nutrition and organ function and spinal function. I love being your patient, so I want to thank you for taking such good care of me and my son. You've adjusted my son a number of times. But you also, the thing that I respect even more than that is you're able to bring it down to a level where it's approachable, not only to me, but to the patients, to make it digestible and to make it something where they can take action on it. And thirdly, it's in a non-judgmental space. And I see this a lot in prenatal nutrition. Like, there's so much, so you have to do this, and if you ate this, it's horrible. And there's so much fear around what is going to be eaten in the pregnancy that women don't know what to do. And so I love your just style, if you will, of being able to say, all right, this is what's what and nuts and bolts, and you walk them through it, but also kind of provide an overview of, all right, this is going to be an amazing experience. Let's make it even better, And so I think that's something that you bring to the table that's very different than a lot of the kind of how-to books.
Well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that, a lot of the first questions I get in my practice with a pregnant woman is, like, all right, what should I be eating? How many calories? What should I avoid? All those kind of things. But And that is certainly important. I'm not saying that it's not, but tell us more about kind of the general, as you said, the thinking, the mindset that you like your patients or soon to be your readers of your book to be in, rather than just getting into like the nitty gritty of nutrition.
Well, what I want them to really think about is I want them to tap into what's right for them. And I want them to make conscious decisions. So, for example, I had a mom, her name is Joy, and her first pregnancy didn't go very well, and she ended up with a C-section. She's a second-time mom, even though I wrote this book for pre-pregnant, pregnant moms. But oftentimes it's the second time around where people are going, I don't want this again. But one of the things with Joy was that she was getting stressed out, right? And her stress, when she first came into me, she said, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. Started crying. I went, oh my gosh, no, this is supposed to be joyous. What are you doing? But what was happening was her stress and her fear was causing her, her adrenals, let's just say. I don't want to geek out here, but was causing her to also not make great food choices, if that makes sense. So we sat down and we said, okay, stress is not a really good thing, and worrying and fear is in the future, and you have an opportunity to be right here in the present moment, making conscious choices for yourself and for your unborn child. So the stress is causing you to crave carbohydrates or too much sugar or not take care of yourself or not exercise or, some of these things. Let's just try and put ourselves back into the here and now and the present, and let's understand that, why do I really want to have this giant bowl of ice cream right now? Is that really what I want, or is it because I'm all stressed out? What would be better? What would be a more conscious decision if I just took a breath and just asked my body, like, what does it need? What we want? Those kinds of things. So just trying to tap in a little bit more into the thinking of what you eat, drink, and exercise. Just the thinking part. And I think that's really what we're missing a little bit today, is being able to take a step back. I think it's really wonderful that we've got all this great technology out there, and it will continue to make our lives better, easier. But I also think that we need to get back to some balance and simple principles, like whole food, clean water, sleep, those kinds of things. I think that's an important thing, especially if we want to have the birth that we want and for our child to be happy and healthy.
Right. And I think, at least I see this all the time too, there is an overthinking, or maybe it's an overthinking, it's just an overwhelm with all the different information. And as you said before, they're overwhelmed. They don't know which one's right. They seem to be contradictory. And something that you've always said over and over again is, it's a lot simpler than it's made out to be. Let's just simmer it down and, get very clear on just the basics of things. And I think, like your patients and people that are going to you are like getting that relief of, okay, yes, I can do this. And two, it's not that hard. I don't have to have, my entire day spent trying to figure out what foods are going in my body. But then you also connect the dots, and that's what I want to talk about right now, is like, how is sound sound nutrition during the pregnancy, you're going to be able to have the birth that you want, that you say. And then I also want to talk about its effect on the kiddo. But how are those dots connected in to be able to have a healthy birth?
Well, there's a lot of things, a lot of answers to that question. It's multifaceted, but if we have a look at what the human body is made of, it's made of, a lot of water, a lot of protein, a lot of minerals, some good fat, and very little of it carbohydrate. And what we really need to focus on is the quality of what we're putting into our bodies, because it has an impact. If you think about, the cell and massive growth, you have to have the building blocks to be able to work with. And so I think what ends up happening is if you don't provide good nutrition, high quality nutrition, you have a lot of empty calories, let's just say. And the body is still starving and baby's still starving. So the higher the quality of what you're eating and the idea that what are humans made of, and you look at your plate and you go, oh my gosh, I need to have a whole bunch more veggies. But what ends up happening is that moms that are well nourished end up having much easier births. Their babies are usually at that nice sort of weight, not too much, not too little, and they bounce back. They have this resilience, and sometimes we don't think about that stuff in the moment, whereas I think we really should, as not only as parents, but as humans in the sense, is that what we do today has an impact on the future. And so the more nutrient dense our eating and drinking is, and the more connected our thought is, the better that provides resilience and bounce factor for moving forward.
Right. And it only makes sense that if you're going into a birth that is an athletic event, that you want to be eating and have the nutrition for your body to be able to do what it's naturally designed to do. And then also, that going my second part of the question is like, how are you setting up your child in a much more healthy way with having that nutrition? A lot of it seems obvious, but that's the whole title of your book, Building Healthy Humans. How, in kind of linking back to like the epigenetics that we briefly talked about with Dr. Lipton, as well as just pure just nutrition, setting them up healthy. What are the major things that you like to teach your patients about that?
Well, can I tell a story about Dr. Pottinger and his cat? Can I tell that story?
Sure.
Just briefly. I don't know if you know the story of Pottinger's cat, but this is kind of in a nutshell why it's important. And I love it. It's very simple. But Dr. Pottinger did a number of experiments on cats in the 1930s, and heaven forbid they do that today. But what he did one of his studies was he ran out of actually of raw meat and the foods that cats would eat in the wild, and so he ended up having to have cooked meat and processed food, so to speak. And so he noticed within a generation, because cats turn over very quickly, that the cats were not as sharp, they weren't as resilient, their fur wasn't as good, they were a little bit more scrappy, they just weren't as dynamic and as full of life. And so he watched it, and he then did another experiment where he gave another group of cats processed food and processed and sugar-added milk. So he had these three groups of cats going, and the third group of cats that was on the processed food ended up with all of the ailments that we see in some of our children today that seem to be on the rise, the asthma, the allergy, the learning challenges, and so on and so forth. So what he was seeing was that genetics through 3 generations has a huge impact. And I tell this story in the book because I want moms to understand that. I often see in my practice 3 generations. Grandmother will come in with mom, who will come in who's pregnant or already just had a little baby, and they're all trying for the next generation to be better or recover from the previous set of genetics, right? And all be better as we see. So it really does have an impact from one generation to the other, and that's also part of the book. It's like, let's move down a path where we want the next generation to be better and have better quality of life than maybe we did, even, like maybe my parents, I don't know about your parents, but my parents didn't eat all that great, and I've had to recover a little bit, and I've seen it in my family that, if I'm doing reasonably well because I eat, drink, and think, or try my very best every day to sort of do some of those things, versus my other members of my family. So that's the kind of idea, too, this idea of the genetics and epigenetics and why it matters. Yeah? Does that answer the question?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's something that, if we could have more and more parents understanding that taking really good care of themselves during the pregnancy, not only is it going to help their baby, but it's going to help their grandkids. And that in a future-oriented sense, we can change the course of that genetic expression based on, there's so much more pollution and poor nutrition than there were generations ago, but we can have a really big impact on a generation beyond ours with a healthy pregnancy now.
That's true. And that's one of the reasons when I finished the book, I thought, oh, my goodness, I need to be able to provide now what? And so we included in the book our P21, our pre-pregnancy purification program, so that people had a resource. They said, okay, well, I want to get started now because I get it, that it does matter. And so we've included that nice program in the back of the book. So I'm really excited that we got to do that.
And those are for people that are, obviously looking to get pregnant or maybe even have challenges getting pregnant. How would a pregnant woman listening to this use your book? Like, how best do you recommend them to start getting involved?
Well, what we did was we wrote the book in a pre-pregnancy, pregnancy, and the trimesters, and then postpartum. And the best way to use it really is that the table of contents is like questions. And, for example, you could go to the table of contents no matter where you were in your pregnancy. If you were pre-pregnant, you'd start at the beginning. If you were pregnant, you went, oh, my goodness, I need to catch up. You could start chapter 2, let's say, and you could have a look. So you could say, okay, here is the table of contents. This is the answer to this question. This is the question I have right now, and I can see the answer. So you can flip right to that page. And we wanted a book that was small enough and not too big, not like a big reference book, just small enough that you could tuck it into your purse and you could just drag it out when you had a quick question, and then you would find the answer. And so that's how we wanted to be able to, moms or dads even, to be able to use the book. It's like when they needed information, they could just go there and find oh, that makes sense. That's a simple answer to that. That makes sense to me. And we're not suggesting that they don't, have the support of a doula or a chiropractor or an acupuncturist or an OBGYN. We're just suggesting that everybody's a little bit different and they have these nice little answers to the questions. It's just simple and straightforward. No geeking out. We're trying not to geek out.
Well, and I think as far as like obtaining information nowadays, like a lot of people are obtaining it that way, as like question by question, rather than having like a huge textbook on their nightside table that they have the great intention of reading every single night before they fall asleep, but then it just collects dust there because it's overwhelming to go from like chapter 1 to chapter 24, right? So having it in that way, I think, is a really good user interface, if you will, but then speaks more towards, okay, what do I need right now? And having just a really great resource for any question that might come up on the fly.
Yeah, and I know, and I think, too, most of our readers are going to be internet savvy, and they're probably not going to buy a hard copy, although they might like to have one, but a lot of them will want the digital resource, and so they can click on the table of contents to just scan it and go right to what they need. So we wanted that to be easy for them.
Nice. And so in our final moments here, like what's the major take home that you'd like the listener to get from what we talked about today, or maybe even another message that we didn't yet get to?
What I really want is that I want parents to get back to basics. I really want them to sort of tap into some grounding. I want them to think about being conscious parents. I want them to think about nature. I want them to think about sunshine and sleep, balance. I think we've gotten so far away from that whole concept that sometimes I don't think we even know that we're not grounded and balanced. I think that we are always pushing and trying to be, that we never put back. We don't ever think, oh, I need to put back. And it's so important that you have to put back. Just one quick story, one of my patients, Amy wanted to get pregnant, and she came to me and I said, well, for you and your husband to get pregnant, let's start you off with a, pre-pregnancy P21 program, and let's get you and your husband in really good shape. And so she did that program, and she had all these small little hormonal issues that were nagging but could never quite get rid of them. And so with the general hormonal reset, she and her husband lost a few pounds, just the bloaty inflammation stuff. Her hormones reset, and she got pregnant right away. But the other thing that was interesting is that, and she had a beautiful birth, a home birth in the bath, a water birth. She just was perfect for her. She's one of these lucky moms that had the, Pope bless her baby, which was so neat. But anyway, fast forward 10 months, and she comes in to see me. I hadn't seen her since a couple of weeks after the birth, and because she doesn't live close by, and she came in, and I said, hey, it's great to see you and all that, but I couldn't stop looking at her because she was puffy. She had more weight on her, like puffy weight, than she'd had prior to giving, after giving birth. And I thought, wow. And she said, my neck hurts and this and that and the other thing. And I said, well, you're inflamed. And what had happened was she was so busy taking care of her baby and other things that she had forgotten some of the concepts about taking care of herself as well. So we said, well, maybe the P21 is a good idea right now for you to get back on track. Sure enough, she went back on P21 and lost the puffy and the inflammation and started to feel more like herself and ended up with no neck pain. So the last idea is for me is that this is the start, and it doesn't stop postpartum. You have to, as parents, and for your future children, they model your behaviors, and you get an opportunity through this process to really take care of yourself through pregnancy, both mums and dads, but not to lose it postpartum, and to continue through the rest of your life taking good conscious care of not only yourself but also your kids. So it doesn't stop after pregnancy. It's a lifelong journey.
Yes, and with all of the resources that you put together in this book, it's going to really help them with that. And so, Dr. Pia, I really appreciate you being back. It's always a pleasure talking with you. I am so excited for your book coming out. Like, where are people going to be able to get it? Tell them where.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited too. It's going to be available on Amazon. So I am hoping that it will be available for soft launch late next week, and that for people that are listening, I think it's going to be either free or really cheap, like 99 cents. So they get if they jump on it, they'll be able to get all this wonderful stuff before the price goes up and be a part of this exciting soft launch for building healthy humans.
Great. Well, I'll make sure there's a link to Amazon where you can get that book right now. If you're listening to this episode after this window, maybe it's months on down the line, it'll obviously still be available. And I can't recommend Dr. Pia's work enough. You might have noticed I have the utmost respect and just a little mutual admiration society here going. I just really want you to jump into Pia's information. It's helped so many people in the teachings I do with prenatally. I always refer to the Essentials of Prenatal Nutrition podcast episode she did. So look at that in iTunes. She's the go-to resource for us here to send our mamas to learn nutrition. And now you have her knowledge in a book that you can pick up really easily. So I really recommend you do that. Again, Dr. Pia, thank you for being here.
Thanks so much, Jay. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you again for listening. And remember, if you're listening to this episode right when it's published, if you're a subscriber and you're listening to this at the beginning of August 2017 or within the first 2 weeks of August, Dr. Pia's book is available in Amazon right now at a very special price. It's being offered in the beginning launch stages for only 99 cents in the Kindle version. So if you go to Amazon right now, just search for Building Healthy Humans, Dr. Pia Martin. You'll be able to get it right now at that amazing price. I'm obviously a big fan of Dr. Pia's. I've been really excited for her to bring this book out, and now I'm really excited that so many of you are going to be able to be helped by it. So if this episode resonated with you and you want to get that information, please go to Amazon right now. The links will be in the show notes for you to get that. And otherwise, we'll connect on the next episode. So take care till then. Be well.